Vice President, Federal Procurement and Tribal Business Development for the MEDC. She's responsible for the Michigan Defense Center and executing the MEDC's tribal business diversification strategy. Terri has over 26 years in tribal, public, and private sector real estate, economic development experience, and is a member of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians. Prior to MEDC, Terri served as Real Estate Director and Strategic Development Director for the state of Michigan Department of Technology, Management, and Budget, where she directed the management of a $126 million budget, $8 million square feet of lease space for state operations, disposition of state surplus land, and statewide strategic real estate planning. Under her leadership, the real estate division achieved $160 million in lease savings, $70 million in surplus land sales, and was recognized nationally by receiving the Innovations Award from the National Association of State Facilities Administrators for its public-private partnership model for delivery of real estate services. Terri has also served in a variety of capacities for 10 years for the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians, including Vice President of Development, Greektown and Keewatin Casinos, and Real Estate Director for the tribe. Terri has served and is serving on a number of boards, including as a Tribal Housing and Utility Authority Commissioner, a City Planning Commissioner, Special Civic Building Committees, Girl Scouts and YMCA, and has experience as a commercial real estate appraiser. Terri attended Lake Superior State University and is a graduate of Michigan State University's Michigan Political Leadership Program. She has 3 grown sons, Paul, Andrew, and Samuel. We want to give a warm welcome to Terri this morning as she drove up here from Lansing area, and just give her a warm welcome.
Now I'm at a disadvantage because I can't see my presentation. But thank you very much again for having me here today. I'm surprised so many people made it out in this weather. Although I'm from the UP, this is like June, so I really appreciate everyone coming out today. This is all my contact information. I also have business cards on the counter there, and I was thinking as he was going through the bio that made me sound really old, and I'm really quite young. So. I have cards too with all this information. What I'm going to talk to you today about is the tribal business development. That's what we are here for, not really for the Michigan Defense Center information, although I'd be happy to answer any questions on that. Some background information, what we do, tribal business advantages, some of our success stories, and then some Q&A. And I'll leave the Q&A really open because I'm not going to talk much about Indian tribes or history or any of that in Michigan, but sometimes people have an interest in that cultural component of it, so I'm able to answer whatever I can for you. Starting out with this picture because I didn't have a good joke to start out with today. So this is a picture that hangs in my office that has many meanings to me, and I'll keep them relevant to our presentation here today. This is my mom and dad. This is where I grew up in the Upper Peninsula. They called that the res. It wasn't actually a res yet. Our tribe wasn't recognized until 1975. This was New Year's Day, 1970, and when I asked my dad how he could so precisely remember the day, he said, well, I was drunk on New Year's Eve, 1969, bought the snowmobile, your mom wouldn't leave me alone, so I took her out on a ride so I wouldn't have to listen to it. And so what's funny about this is that, I look at the snowmobile now, and this was the nicer of the 2 snowmobiles we had. We also had a skedaddler. And after Sunday church, we would take the snowmobiles over to Horns Bar on Mackinac Island, and Between the 6 of us, split 2 hamburgers and 2 orders of fries, and my mom and dad got their own beer, they didn't share. So anyway, what this makes me think about is the human element in everything we do, because most of our work is by necessity and requirement converted to metrics and strategy and things that we can report out on, and we often forget the human element and the effect we have on people's lives and on families and the work we do. And also it reminds me of my culture and my heritage and how that's a little bit invisible in our society, how we, in our minds commonly think of tribes and casinos in the same thought, and casinos are such a small part of what Indian tribes are in this country and in this state. And lastly, it taught me the most important business strategy that I've ever used and continue to use is don't ask for permission, beg for forgiveness. And so that picture has a lot of meanings, but I thought I'd start out by sharing it with you today. It's hard for me to stand still and talk. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Okay, so I guess it's something to press this too. No, this won't work. Okay. So there's 12 federally recognized Indian tribes in the state of Michigan, and I think most of you are probably familiar that under the Snyder administration, that the Michigan Economic Development Corporation is organized regionally for service delivery and for collaboration purposes. Most of the tribes are actually in Region 1 and Region 2. 8 of the 12 tribes are up there. You have 1 tribe in your region, and then there's 3 down in the southwest corner. But a lot of my work has been to try to integrate the tribes with the local EDCs and their local economic and workforce development partners. In some areas we've been much more successful than others, in part because of who's in that area regionally as the service provider, but also because of the tribe's participation. But this is what we really try to push out, because as you'll see as I go through this presentation, there are a lot of tribal resources available, there are a lot of federal resources available to tribes, and we try to create more leveraging of those resources with the local economic and workforce development entities to create greater opportunities in the region. So just a little bit of background on how the tribes relate to economic development in Michigan. In 1993, where the original 7 tribes had gaming in the state, they entered into compacts with the state of Michigan, and all of their gaming revenue payments are directed to the Michigan Strategic Fund, or the MEDC, and those were called 8% funds commonly, and then 2% to local units of government. In 2005, 2006, the governor and the tribe, this was Governor Granholm at the time, entered into economic accords that recognize the diversification of tribal economies beyond gaming benefits communities in the state as a whole, and commits to better collaboration of state and tribal resources to create jobs. And then in 2010, the MEDC expanded into tribal business development. So you can see none of that happened very fast. And part of that was motivated by the leader of the MEDC, Greg Main at the time, who had experience in Oklahoma with tribal business development and the success they had there in the job creation, but also because these original compacts that were entered into in 1993 expired this year. They were 20-year compacts. And they realized, here we've gotten like $400 million from you guys and we don't even talk to you. So that was also a motivating factor. These are the total, this is right off the Michigan Gaming Control Board's webpage, that these are just strict gaming compact payments, 2% payments to local units, $306 million, to the MEDC, $435 million. So now it's over $750 million because this is at a point in time last year and payments have been made already this year. And so a lot of money going into the state just from compact payments. This doesn't pay for administrative services. This does include, salaries and wages and vendor spend and all of the charitable contributions, any other contributions the tribes make to the state in a community or economic development capacity. So at the MEDC, it's all about creating more and better jobs. It's number 1 on Governor Snyder's plan for reinventing Michigan. It's number 1 on our strategy. What we do specifically in tribal business development is 2 things. We work with the tribes who want to diversify their economies and create stability in their economies through economic enterprises.